Have you noticed how it's almost impossible to do nothing anymore? You might be lying there in bed or on the couch, completely exhausted, but your brain is still on despite you not wanting it to be. We like to think it's stress, or maybe it's just the cost of living in the modern world. But the truth is, for a lot of us, we don't want to sit in silence because we're haunted by what it represents. And it's not like a typical haunting, like a poltergeist or a boogeyman or whatever. No, it's really the manifestation of our modern world and the fact that we can't face our own shadows. The modern world has always offered relief to us by providing us a distraction, but in the last 15 years or so, we've been hypnotized by our own devices. The world's decaying around us, and we're effectively ignoring it. The thing with this world is everything is meant to overwhelm us so that we never have a second to actually hear ourselves think. This is all by design because our silence, our thoughts, they can't be monetized. But it's even more insidious than this, because on the one hand, we have an uncontrollable system becoming an egregore. It's effectively starting to take on a mind of its own. And on the other, we have our own minds and the shadows within and what they represent. We have to face them if we sit in our silence. It feels like the game is rigged, but it wasn't always like this. We'll get into why we're here later on, but first let's have a think and look at what we do to ourselves every single day. After I've done some work and I'm tired and I want to take a break, I automatically go for my phone. I pick it up, but I don't think about it. It just happens. It magically appears in my hand. When I do consciously realize I've done it, I like to justify it. I like to say, hey, I'm being productive right now. I'm watching a YouTube video. Ironic, I know. Or I'm wanting to be connected with my friends, or wanting to keep up to date with what's going on in the world, even though it's kind of bad for you at the moment. For the longest time, I thought it was healthy, but now I'm starting to realize it's not, even in moderation. But the reality of these devices is that they've stolen something from us. Not only our time and our attention, they've also stolen our silence. It's so insidious that we don't really think about it, and we don't really understand the consequence of this. I didn't myself for the longest time until a few years ago. We've all been conditioned to believe that we need to be doing something with our time all of the time. And we're kept in such a state of stress just generally that we need to find a way to alleviate that. And so for a lot of us, our phones and devices are a way to alleviate that. The thing we are starting to realize more and more though is that our phones are there to harvest our data, harvest our attention, and harvest our energy. These devices stimulate our mind, but they take away our focus. The tech companies want to maximize the time we're on screen. So they show us what we want to see. They keep us in echo chambers, but they also rage bait us by showing us content that will make us angry, and that's been proven to increase on-screen time. They can make money off us that way through our data, through showing us ads. But if we're in our thoughts and we're silent, they can't make money off us that way. They can't make money off us listening to our inner voice, to our inner wisdom. If we have a look at social media, it acts as if it's become an egregore. So an egregore is basically a thought form that's formed off millions of people, their beliefs, their emotional energy, their engagement with it. It's sustained through, like on social media, likes and comments and reposts. But the thing with an egregore is it also influences those who engage with it. So if you just think about social media, it feels like it's become a bit of an unstoppable beast. Who's really in charge of it now? Who's really in charge of the algorithm? Are the tech companies really in charge now? They certainly have created it, but it feels like it's self-sustaining. And if we keep giving it attention, it will keep getting bigger and bigger. But what we need to do is we need to starve it of energy. We need to stop engaging with it. But while the egregore is currently feeding off our collective energy, we're collectively losing something just as important. We're losing our time. I've spent most of my life in relatively competitive environments. You feel like you always have to be on the go, on the clock, on. And that carries forward to the rest of your life. Your family, your chores. You get to the end of the day and you just crash, and of course you go for your phone. We feel like every minute of the day has to be productive. Even self-improvement. The problem with this is it warps our mindset. We listen to hustle culture that we need to work, 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 and our bodies are taxed. We become depleted. As someone who's suffered burnout before in my career, I totally get it. For those of us who understand that we need to have fun and have time to ourselves, we feel guilty for doing so because it's unproductive time. We're also told that we need to be flexible, especially in the workplace. They're flexible for us by letting us go to appointments during the day, so we need to be flexible to them by answering emails at 11 p.m. I'm quite lucky here in Australia. We do have a law that prevents work from contacting us after hours, but I know in many places of the world they don't have that protection. But the problem with this is life starts to feel like a constant rush, and it runs past you. When you're always working on a to-do list, when you've always got more to do tomorrow, it never ends. But if we really want time to stop running past us, I think we need to learn to slow down and have that unproductive time, that we need to be present and enjoy those special moments with family. The special moments where we're not on our phone. Those are the sort of moments that make life worth living. Unfortunately for most people, they're stuck in the rat race, caught spinning their wheels, tired but wired. But not only has the system disrupted our sense of time, our schedules, it's actually rewired our brain and how we process alerts. There's this part of our brain called the locus coeruleus. It's used to give us short bursts of energy to focus us on specific tasks and ignore distractions around us. But the problem with our world is that it's pinging us all the time. It's affecting the locus coeruleus. Whether you're on a busy street, you have something urgent to do at work, or you're on social media, it's constantly pinging and tiring it out. As a result, we're always unconsciously on alert. We are unable to get into deep focus. Our brain is flooded with chemicals like cortisol, which keep us in a high state of stress. It's become so much worse now than just stress. For all of our history up until now, silence has been equated with peace. That has been flipped. Silence is now equated with danger. The ping in our mind has been going off so much that it's become more like an alarm. Our minds feel like there's a predator out there to get us when we're silent. Because it's always going off, it views the world as an external threat. And when you're in silence, it thinks that there's a hidden predator out there, which makes it feel even worse. You know, the fact that for 200,000 years, peace and silence were correlated and now it's seen as danger just shows us how sick our world is. Now you might be thinking, if the alarm's going off all the time, how do people sit in silence? Well, people have different sensitivities to this alarm, and you can work on that yourself by obviously acclimatizing yourself to silence. So people can meditate and the alarm not be noticeable to them and they can be at peace. But just for many people, they're not at that stage yet. The scary thing is that our biology is ringing this loud bell, and our world has to deliver a spectacle that's even louder to keep it going. Now, we like to think of progress these days being linear and that the world is always getting better, and for some exponentially better. But if we have a look at nature, it's not how nature works. It's always cyclical. And we need to remember that we live in a physical universe. Nothing can always remain the same way forever. And that extends to our society as well. Now, if we go back in time and we have a look at ancient Rome, we can actually find a similar analogy to what's going on here. You might have heard of bread and circuses. It's the idea that the Roman elites were distracting the population from the issues of the empire by hosting gladiatorial games. Lots of blood, lots of gore, lots of mayhem. It would satisfy and pacify the masses. Look at the algorithm these days. See the same thing going on. Online world is an arena. It's a battlefield. All fighting each other. It's all becoming more extreme. It's just ever more so. The thing with the Roman Empire is they couldn't maintain it forever. It eventually stopped. It stopped because they ran out of resources. Could that not happen to us? With the online world, probably we're not going to run out of resources to keep it going, but I think we might come to an even worse end. I think the brain will get to such a point that it's overwhelmed, exhausted, cannot get any more satisfaction from it, that it goes numb. It detunes from it. We'll have to detox from it. And when that happens, that's going to be interesting. If we look back to Roman times and compare it to today, I mean, there are so many striking parallels. The Roman Empire took centuries to decay. I think we've got years. I think we're actually at a point now where we're starting to go over the cliff. Look at the wars going on, supply chains breaking, inflation, partisanship. Just everything feels like it's fracturing. It's a feedback loop that's sustaining itself, and the one thing that's causing the anxiety, that's creating it, we see as the cure. The funny thing is that the system isn't afraid of the noise. It isn't afraid of the arguments. It's afraid of what happens when the noise stops altogether. The human brain is a miracle. It tries to protect us, and one of the ways it does so is by distracting us. But sometimes when it protects us, it doesn't actually help us. We need to be able to listen to the silence to hear what it has to tell us. Well, one of the reasons is the fear of the void. Within the void, there's a buried version of yourself. A version of you who's not reactive, a version of you who's proactive and creative, a version of you that hasn't been seen in a very long time. And when you go into that void, you're confronted with the fact that you may not be where you want to be in life. You may not know what your purpose is, why you're here. And you have to figure that out. It's not an easy answer. You have to sit with the void for a very long time to figure it out, to find the inner gold. And that's very uncomfortable. And in that state, you're confronted with the fear of your untapped potential, your wasted time, and the feeling that you're adrift at sea. So for many people, they just use the phone as a pacifier. They don't take that time to figure that out. But this horror show of distraction is going to end at some point. I mean, I might be wrong, but I have a feeling it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And it'll be easy to handle it on your own terms. Of course, when you're able to. This process is called many things. Carl Jung referred to it as shadow work. Alchemy refers to it as the blackening. It's the process of breaking apart your false self so that your true self can come through. It requires a psychological death where the unintegrated parts of you, the parts you hide away, what Carl Jung calls the shadow, can be integrated into you. To your ego, it feels like death, but it's really a rebirth of who you actually are. I think for all of us, we have versions of ourselves we left long ago, for various reasons. Maybe it was due to trauma or adaptation, or you're just forced to by life itself. You might feel grief for the version of yourself that you can no longer be. But we don't need to blame ourselves for it. We all bought into the belief that the information age, all the information in the world is available at our fingertips. that we can know everything, be the best version of ourselves. But we didn't realize until it was too late that we're actually giving ourselves up. We're so blinded by the light that we didn't see what we lost. I just find it so ironic that we're the most connected humans in history. We have the most knowledge, but we lost ourselves in the process. We lost our internal voice. But the signal is still inside. It hasn't been lost. It's not lost forever. It's just buried deep. And I know that painfully and personally, having myself gone through a dark night of the soul the last few years, through various events, been forced to awaken up to it, to go through the silence, to find what's inside. And if you choose to go on that journey, I will say it is not going to be quick and it is not going to be easy, but it will eventually be worth it. You just need to make sure it's psychologically safe for you. Because inside, you turn lead into gold. Your suffering, your lessons become wisdom for yourself and for others. It becomes a North Star, showing you what your purpose is. But once you realize the noise of the world is really just an extraction model, you can stop it from operating on you. Now, I think you can probably know where I'm going with the solution here. It's something I've been dancing around throughout this video. Obviously, it's engaging in silence. It isn't just as simple as going into your bedroom and listening to a meditation app. No. You need to block out a specific period of time to do this work. 20 minutes, half an hour. You need to ensure that you don't have your digital devices with you. Maybe with the exception of noise-cancelling headphones if you need them. Earplugs are probably better. But the goal is sensory deprivation. No music, just your thoughts. No measuring your time. No productivity apps. You need to learn to get away from our devices. Now, for a lot of people, this will be very hard at first. Obviously, you have the boredom, but like I mentioned earlier, the locus coeruleus has turned into an alarm, so it will treat it as a threat. There's this thing called the extinction burst, which kind of applies here, where your body will panic. For those of you whose alarm is very sensitive. But if you push through, even in short stints and get longer and longer, you can reset your sensitivity. And slowly over time, your dependency on these devices